designer inspired, or is it just straight up copying? Let's talk Steve Madden. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video. I'm Ryan Monet. On this channel, we make fashion feel good, look good, and actually make sense for your everyday life. So in today's video, y'all, we are talking about something that's low-key controversial, not even low-key. It's controversial in the fashion world, and that is designer-inspired pieces, more specifically, designer-inspired shoes from Steve Madden. So recently, Steve Madden himself sat down with the Cutting Room Floor podcast and she interviewed him, and a lot of people are talking about it. I have seen a ton of clips on TikTok, but if you want to go ahead and check out the podcast itself, the interview in its entirety, I will have it linked down below. But I just want to talk quickly about some things that he said, as well as talk about some of his designer inspired pieces. And I want to know, what do you think? Do you think he may take it too far? Because if you don't know, Steve Madden is known for creating pieces that definitely look inspired by some of the top designers, and he let us know in that interview that it's on purpose. It is not by mistake. So a lot of individuals feel like this is cool, this is great, he's doing something for the people, he's making fashion more accessible. But then you have the other side who feel like this is a ripoff, you should not be doing this. If you can't afford the real thing, you shouldn't even have something that looks similar to it. It's a two-way street. I personally will share where I'm at with the conversation, but as you watch along, I hope you share how you feel about the situation as well in the comments. So let's talk about it. So if you are not familiar with Steve Madden was, like I said, on the Cutting Room Floor podcast, and he talked about his journey building Steve Madden. He talked about how he started it in the 90s. He had a little bit around like $1,000, maybe a little more, how he sold shoes on hand, just everything. So he talks about his journey starting it up. He also talked about like some trouble he got in and how he got out, and basically build his brand to what it is today. And he was straight up honest in the interview, y'all. So his brand today is honestly known for having designer inspired pieces. So he straight up said, yes, me and my team, we look at the designer pieces in fashion that are trending. We look at the products and we basically go in the lab and we make something very similar. So much to the point where if you see Steve Madden's shoe and you're into like designer, you instantly know what designer he was inspired by. And again, he said on the interview, that is intentional. That's exactly what they do in the lab. They're looking for trending items, but they want to make it a way that, you know, it looks similar, but it's more accessible to consumers. So basically he's trying to make fashion accessible. And again, depending on how you view that, you might think he's doing something good. And if you're against like, you know, designer inspired items, you probably feel like he should not be doing this. This is not an okay thing to do. It literally ends up just being a personal preference and how you feel about the situation. Some people agree with it, some people do not. Personally, as someone who enjoys designer items, I've purchased a designer item or two. I also enjoy a good save, and part of the things that I post on my channel is being able to look really nice within a budget. So not having to blow your budget just to have one nice thing, but have a full outfit that you don't have to break the bank. So if that means purchasing a pair of shoes that look very similar to the designer item, I just don't want to pay $800 for it, I personally will definitely do that. Like I said, if you look on my channel, I am all for saving a coin and still looking good, because we can and we deserve to look really well, look really nice without having to spend literally an arm and a leg. So I personally don't see anything wrong. He's not making exact copies of the shoe. Like he said, they work to create something that is a lookalike. They work to create something that is similar. And at the end of the day, I think whatever people can afford, whatever people choose to buy, that is their business. So if their goal is to make fashion accessible for everyone else, I think they're doing a great job at it. But I also know that, like I said, some people, they're just not for that. Okay, so now that we've talked details about the interview, the mission behind Steve Madden, and what his team is setting out to do by making fashion more accessible to consumers, let's take a look at exactly how he's doing this. So we're gonna compare some Steve Madden shoes to the shoes that they are obviously inspired by. So let's start with shoe number one. So shoe number one, we're gonna start off with a cute little heel. Now Steve Madden has created the Vala heel. I'm gonna pop it on the screen, and before I even show you the designer inspired shoe, I want you to guess, what shoe do you think this is inspired by? I'll give you a few seconds to guess. Okay, so now that you've guessed, were you correct? In my opinion, this shoe is obviously inspired by Christian Louboutin, the So Kate. I'll put it on the screen. If you are familiar with Christian Louboutin or the Socade, you know that this is a super sexy shoe. It's super sleek. I love the shininess of the shoe, and of course it is the classic red bottom. Now in my mind, this is a piece that even if it's one that's designer inspired, it's not gonna give what the red bottom give because it's just a classic sexy shoe. It's also very expensive. So Steve and his team, in my mind, they went to the lab and they're like, how can we do something similar but make it more affordable for the people who want the same vibe, they want the same energy, but they don't want to pay that price tag? That's where I think the valet came into place. As you can see with the shoe, it has the same silhouette, same color. It also has like that shininess to it. So in my opinion, they did a great job. Again, these are just going to be similar. Does it look spot on? No, it doesn't even have the red bottom because like he said, his goal is not to make straight up copies. His goal is to make something similar so that when you see the shoe, you feel like you have a piece of luxury without having to pay that luxury price. So this is comparison number one. Let's go ahead and move on to comparison number two. Okay, so next up, I wanted to do a sandal that is super popular. The silhouette, the style of this shoe, period, is just super trendy. You can find this type of shoe all on Amazon. Any store you go into right now, it is definitely inspired by the Hermes Oran sandal. I'm gonna put the Hermes Oran sandal on the screen first. As you know, this is a super popular minimalistic sandal. So many people love this sandal, I think because of how chic and how simple it is, but it's still a way to elevate a look. So Steve Madden and the many other brands know that. They know that's why people really enjoy that shoe. But this is another shoe that's like $800, I believe. So a lot of us are not going to want to pay that $800. Some of us will, and that's okay. You get what you like, you get what you feel comfortable paying. Steve Madden and his team, they feel like, okay, we can do something similar to this silhouette, similar to this shape. We can also offer it in a million different colors, but we don't have to offer it at such a high price. So this is where they come in with the Hayden sandal. As you can see, just from the look, they definitely look very similar, and there's definitely a price difference. This shoe is a fraction of the actual like Oran sandal. So this is another example where Steve and his team went into the lab. They see that this is a shoe that's super popular. A lot of people love this from the brand. Let's figure out how we can make this a Steve Madden item, and that's exactly what they did. If you watch my channel, you know that I too have a pair like this from Steve Madden. No shame in my game, and I love that little slide. I wear it to death. So that's comparison number two. Comparison number three is another designer inspired piece. This is actually basically the dad version of the Oran sandal. I think it's like the Shapri. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Probably why I don't own it. But yeah, that's the sandal. Let's go ahead and put it on the screen. So as you can see, it has that same like silhouette, except it's more like chunky and wide, more so of like a dad sandal, and it has the additional strap across. Steve Madden and his team, y'all, by now, y'all know what they do when they get in the lab. They get in there and they say, how can we make this shoe look like this, but save them a coin? At this point, we all know he said they did it on purpose. Like, there was no shame in his game. So why can't we talk about it? Why can't we point it out? And you may be someone who, like I said, you're on the other fence. You only want the designer item. You don't feel like anything similar will compare. It probably won't. But for the girlies who want that look, they don't want to pay the price. Now that you know what the designer item is, if you want something a little more in your price range, I will have everything linked down below, because I'm here for the girls who, like I said, love to look good, but don't like to spend so much money, because I get it. Okay, so next up, we're moving on to a platform. Now, this is a popular platform. It's been popular for a few different years. I've seen so many celebrities wear this shoe. I've seen so many like fashion icons on Instagram style this shoe. It's truly a popular platform. When you see it, you instantly know it's from Versace. I will go ahead and put it on the screen. This is a shoe that is definitely a statement shoe, and in my mind, I feel like it's a trendier shoe. Platforms recently came back and they've been in for a little minute, but after a while, I feel like this may be a type of shoe that's just going to be trendy for the moment. So in my mind, anything that's trendy, I don't necessarily want to spend thousands, or I don't want to spend a lot of money if it's here today, gone tomorrow. So this is where I think there's no harm in like having pieces that look similar. So if Steve Madden is going to give me this shoe right here that looks similar to this shoe, I'm going to go with this shoe just so I can try out the trend, but I don't necessarily have to spend hundreds of dollars on a trend. Okay, so I've been talking about like some high-end expensive designers, but Steve Madden does not discriminate. Steve Madden will also create pieces from like brands that look very similar to even brands like Adidas, the stripes. Steve Madden says nobody owns the stripes, okay? This is a basic concept. You're not gonna take ownership. Girl, I read an article, I'm a little nosy. I read a blog website where I think Steve Madden is actually suing Adidas, if I'm allegedly, let me say allegedly for somebody come and take everything that I got, because girl, I needs what I got. But allegedly, Steve Madden is suing Adidas because they're trying to, I guess, like maybe like trademark just the whole stripe idea on shoes. And Steve Madden, I think, is basically trying to say that's too broad. So Steve Madden is not having it. So basically what I got from that is Adidas is trying to block him from being able to sell a shoe that looks similar to his. And if Steve Madden is suing them, I'm sure Steve Madden in the past has definitely received some lawsuits being accused of the same thing. Now, clearly, they're not stopping him. Clearly, they're not going anywhere because he's still out here doing what he does. And like he said, he does it on purpose. But anyways, this is a traditional Adidas shoe. When you see it, you know exactly what it is. Now, let's pull up the Steve Madden designer-inspired piece. Let's look at the shoe. Obviously, not exactly the same, but when you see this shoe, if you're familiar with Adidas, I know you're definitely thinking of Adidas because it looks very similar to it. Obviously, again, not exact copies, not spot on, but definitely looks similar. And again, that's Steve Madden and his teams. That's their whole goal. And I believe this is called like the Hudson. I'll have them all linked below. Sorry, I'm not saying the exact names. I will definitely have them linked for y'all though. Okay, we'll move on because y'all definitely get the point. Y'all see what Steve Madden and his team is doing. And like I said, you're either here for it or you're against it. But let's go ahead and wrap this up with the final shoe comparison. Okay, so the final two shoes we're going to compare is the Mona sandal from Steve Madden and the sandal from Dior. As you can see, just looking at them, again, very similar. Steve Madden and his team did what they always do. They made a piece that's a fraction of the cost. It looks very similar. And like I said, you kind of get the taste of what it would be like to wear this shoe from this designer, just looks wise. Obviously, again, it's not going to be the same quality wise. It's not going to be the same looks wise. It might be very similar, but it is just a designer inspired piece. So this is the final example that I wanted to go ahead and share. And as you can see throughout the video, Steve Madden and his team, they're going to get in the lab and they're going to do just what they say they're going to do, or at least just what he said he does in that interview. They're going to create a piece that looks really nice, looks really similar, but you do not have to pay that hefty designer price. So now that you've seen all those examples, I really want to know, are you someone that would go the Steve Madden route? Would you save up for the designer? Or are you one that's going to dibble and dabble and basically do both? At the end of the day, there's no right answer. It's whatever makes sense for you. I've shared my stance and I would love for you to share yours in the comments, but let's just remember in the comments, this is a judge-free zone. This is not to, like I said, there's no wrong answer. So definitely share what you are comfortable sharing. Definitely let me know your stance. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this or more affordable fashion, how to look good on a budget, this is definitely the channel for you. I hope you consider subscribing. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for clicking on another video. I will see y'all in my next one. Bye.